Each week, we welcome to our NfG stage one of our highly talented members or special guests with something designed to help you and your business. Our next guest knows the power of brand. With an interesting work history, he's made good use of his marketing-focused degree from a Manchester-based business school from almost 20 years ago, when he soon turned his knowledge of analytics and KPIs into a method to quantitatively identify brand success. 7 years ago, he turned from alcohol to fast cars. And that sounds dangerous, especially if we say he moved from a company self-proclaimed as probably the best to a company focused on challenging others to be the quickest. This career move from a famous brewery to an infamous motor racing event provider saw him further his passion for brand recognition and perception before setting up his own business, Growth Animals, 1 year ago, focused on growth acceleration through effective brand propagation of just the right message. As a trustee of a dementia charity and a mentor for a young person's initiative, he also understands the importance of integration of unwavering ethics into our businesses so that we can do the right thing while being the right thing. With a talk on why 2021 is the year of ethical marketing, we bring to you Chris Thornhill. Good morning, Chris.
Morning, everyone. I first wrote an iteration of this presentation about this time last year, actually. And it was while I was, I think, a little bit pissed off, shall we say, at the state of the world and another bloody lockdown coming in. And I remember I was working with a client at the time. We were working on their TripAdvisor stuff, and I just thought, gosh, yeah, if 2020 got a review, it'd probably be lucky to get 1 star on TripAdvisor, wouldn't it? And for me, as someone who's always worked in marketing, what really sort of added to all the other stuff that was going around was just how poor the advertising world was at the time. It felt to me like every single commercial around the time of the real outbreak of COVID-19 was the same thing. It was, you remember that same somber piano music followed by the same contrite messages from your bank or your insurer or whatever other faceless sort of brand that pretended to be all in it together with you. And that came off the back of a couple of bad years where we'd had the Cambridge Analytica scandal, where we'd learned about how malicious some of these entities were and how it enabled people to sort of undermine democracy. And I don't know if you've seen as well, if you haven't, I'd highly recommend watching The Social Dilemma on Netflix, which had kind of gone to another level of showing that what happens behind the scenes with the AI that runs the big social media networks sends people down a lot of, let's say, damaging neural pathways. And I think that's the sort of thing that's actually coming to light now in a lot of the courtrooms across Europe with this Facebook whistleblower, Frances Haugen. But having said that, I think what also was really clear was that there was so much greatness, so much positivity coming out of last year. And, a lot of the moments that we saw with families coming together or finding ways to come together despite the pandemic being around us, societies, communities coming together, and business innovation as well. The number of businesses that started up last year was phenomenal. And there was one great example. I don't know if you're familiar with this at all, but there was an initiative called Nights on Us, and it was run by a bunch of guys and girls from the hospitality trade who'd all lost their job in the first lockdown. And they just came together and used their collective brains and contacts to do this great initiative whereby ICU nurses, other NHS workers got to have free nights across some of the best hotels in the country, just simply as a thank you. And I have to say that, myself, I have positives to put towards the pandemic as well. I think it was the kick that perhaps might never have happened to start my business, Growth Animals. And so, yeah, when the first lockdown happened, at the time, I was head of marketing at the Goodwood Estate. Jen and Jerin, my co-founders, who you can see here in this picture, they were part of my team. And I, like many people at the time, had to put them and the whole team onto furlough. And when I did that, I thought, well, let's see if they can do something good with their time. And so I asked them if they would do a bit of free consultancy for a charity that I'm a trustee for called Dementia Support. I thought, great use of their time. Charity would benefit from their expertise, win-win sort of thing. And it was really when they played back the work to me where we had this aha moment of, actually, this is bloody good fun. This is way more rewarding than our day job. And that's what sort of started the spiral that then created growth animals. And a lot of people ask us, why are we called growth animals? And the growth is really simple. We just wanted to start with the end in mind. And then the animals was just a bit of fun. So we wanted to have a bit of personality in the brand. And we were all fans of this great little quiz that we used to do when new people joined the team at Goodwood. And it's based on that famous Myers-Briggs psychometric study. And you can have a go at it yourself. I put the link there, I put a little QR code. Basically, it's a 2-minute quiz, answer a few multiple choice questions, and it spits out your animal personality. So I'm a falcon, which means I'm imaginative, spontaneous, but also have a terrible attention span. Jen is a dolphin, which means she's creative and a social hand grenade, and Jerian is a panda, which means that he's caring and cuddly. So yeah, a bit of fun and good to do with your colleagues and your family members as well, actually. But back to the ethical marketing piece, where this came from was because we had all been client-side marketeers for the majority of our careers. We'd all been party to this sort of thing that happens whereby good people end up sort of doing tactics that sometimes they feel a little bit uncomfortable with. And often it was the pressure coming in from the senior management above us, the shareholders at the top. And it led us to think, if we're going to do our own marketing agency, we want it to be one that, one where we feel it's win-win-win. The clients are winning, but their customers are winning and society is winning at the same time. And that's where we felt this idea of marketing that's helpful and inspiring rather than manipulative or intrusive is important, because, it almost has to be a bit of a hygiene factor that if you're calling upon us as a marketing agency, we're going to do your marketing for you. But what can we do on top of that? Well, we want to help you as a brand business owner to also make a positive impact too. And it's important, or we felt it was important at the time and still is now, because there are a lot of shady tactics going on. So this is actually a screenshot from a message that was sent to a friend of mine who's a business owner. And as you can see, it's from a company that is unashamedly saying that they're going to use shady tactics to help my friend to grow his business. And now I appreciate that this is probably the minority. And actually where the biggest problem lies is in the sort of 99%, all those people out there who are doing what they feel is good marketing, because ultimately they're there trying to make a profit, build a business, all that sort of thing. But I think where it falls apart is that often we've almost become conditioned to some of the manipulative tactics that have become rife in the industry, particularly across digital marketing. So you'll all be really familiar with this sort of thing from the ticketing trade, from the hospitality trade, from travel trade, where you're almost forced into a decision because there's this feeling of false scarcity that's put upon you. And ultimately that is there because it is trying to psychologically manipulate you to make you feel this FOMO, fear of missing out, and therefore make you jump to a decision that you otherwise might take more time to come to. And so what can we do as people who want to practice in ethical marketing? There's a few sort of quick tips that I can sort of share with you today. One is making sure that those human checks and balances are there. If there's one thing we can learn from what's going on at the moment in the courtrooms around Facebook and social media, it's that AI, when it's unchecked, can become quite a manipulative thing. AI in its own right is a fantastic thing, and it's helping to solve massive problems across the world, like climate change and help create vaccines and so forth. But when it's left unchecked, it can also then lead us down manipulative sort of dark pathways. And so when you're engaging, for example, with an agency or even doing yourself some marketing across Facebook, it's just making sure that you are there, or there is someone there that's the human check and balance to make sure you're putting the right message across to the right person at the right time. Another thing is to just reevaluate some of those tactics that you maybe thought in the past are a little bit manipulative, but you've just kind of accepted are the norm now. So here's another example, a real life example of an email that came to Jen, my business partner. And as you can see here, again, it's just these sort of little false scarcity prompts that are trying to push her into making that decision that she perhaps isn't ready to make yet. So the countdown clocks, these fast action bonuses, things that in reality aren't that time sensitive, but the purveyor of this is trying to put them in to stimulate an action. The third thing is that we can also look for alternative medias and partners. So, you know, if, for example, you've got a problem with Google and you think that they've become too big and they're starting to damage society, well, you know, there's the Ecosia search platform. It's built on the Bing platform, so it's got all the same tech, but they are deliberately anonymizing the data. There are trees planted for every search. Their servers are all carbon positive. So, you know, there's all other alternatives out there. And the other example here is a great little platform called Goodloop. And basically it's a video advertising platform which can run across all of the major networks. But the difference between this and a normal advert is simply that your advert will play, but if the user watches the whole advert, they will then be prompted to make a donation on your behalf to a choice of charities. So it's kind of making that full circle of goodness happen even in the advertising world. And the last one is walking the talk. So just a few examples from ourselves, but you know, if we're going to talk this way, we need to also make sure that we are acting accordingly. So we pledged 1% of our time and product to good causes. So I do that through my trusteeship with dementia support, but other members of the team do that through pro bono work with charities. We're a climate positive workforce through our contributions to ecology. And like NfG, we are massive fans of B1G1. So every time we win a client, we give a week's worth of nutritious meals to underprivileged families in the UK, but actually even small things. So like when someone signs up to our email database, we actually then make a small contribution to music lessons for secondary school pupils. So yeah, really nice little thing to just sort of keep those good positive impacts happening. And all of this adds up to the fact that, you know, we're pending B Corp. We're hoping to become fully B Corp accredited by May next year. So as a real quick snapshot into the world of ethical marketing, if you like kind of what you heard and want to learn a bit more, I've just recently contributed a chapter to a new book called the 6-Star Business Book, which is available on Amazon for pre-order now. And yeah, connect on LinkedIn, connect with me, follow Growth Animals. We're always putting out more and more content around this theme. So that would be great. And I always like to just leave with 3 things. Hopefully you can remember one of them. Number 1 is marketing for me is always at its best when it's helpful and inspiring. The second is if you want to get in touch, you would like some help, then we'd be happy to do so, happy to have a chat. And lastly, bit of fun, discover your animal spirit today. You'll be interested and intrigued to find what your colleagues and family are as well. I can assure you of that. Thank you very much.